Welcome back to our show, your show, Let's Talk Stocks. In studio with us this morning is the fabulous Mekelia Green, and she's of course from Coldwell Bankers as a realtor, but we've also found out that she's an attorney at law, and so we're going to talk about the legal aspects of the real estate industry. Welcome back, Mekelia.
Thank you again for having me. It's a pleasure to be on your show once again.
All right, great. And you know we're always happy to have you. Real estate. The last time we spoke, you said it's one of the biggest decisions people will ever make in their lifetime, one of the biggest investment decisions.
Absolutely.
And so that's where you come in. We want to make sure that all the I's are dotted and all the T's are crossed. How important is the attorney in the real estate transaction?
Extremely important, especially if you want to avoid mistakes that can cause years of litigation in court. So I always advise one to get an attorney to explain not only the terms, but to really guide you through the process of buying or selling your property. We know that a lot of people try to come up with some tricks. So it's very important to have an attorney who will vet all of that and do what needs to be done to ensure a smooth transaction.
Tell me some of the roles that the attorney plays in a real estate transaction. You're buying a property or you're selling a property. How does the attorney help to guide you with some of the pitfalls that they're trying to help you to avoid making?
Okay, so firstly, well, I'm sure we have heard about a lot of cases where sadly people have been, conned out of their property and in these transactions, and it's very important when the attorney will first check the title. So the attorney at law will request a title, whether it is that one is purchasing especially, and will ensure that the person who is selling you the property is actually the owner.
Okay.
So one common mistake that is made is where someone is buying a piece of land without an attorney, and only to find out that the owner who is selling this property is not indeed the owner, legal owner, and not only the person who is on the title, but there are others who have not consented to the sale.
Okay.
So all of that, can cause several problems that will take you years to litigate sometimes. So very important.
So that's very important. There are also a lot of times people will talk about encumbrances or the little things on the title, and you have to make, what's that really?
Well, really, an attorney will ensure that a valuer or a surveyor is involved in the process so that we can see whether there are any breaches at the boundaries and so on. And whether, if there are boundary disputes, that can be taken through an application to the Supreme Court to whether you're going to modify the restrictive covenant or do away with it altogether. So an attorney at law can guide you through that process and make that application. We've
also seen in more recent times big developers, because it's not just the individual buying. Big developers have gone into communities, and a lot, as in Kingston and St. Andrew, people are now purchasing big lots and putting up high-rise buildings. How important is the attorney to make sure that, the zoning of a community allows a developer to do what he intends or proposes to do?
Well, the good thing is that the title will have what we call covenants. So restrictive covenants will be right there on the title. An attorney at law will ensure that she explains, or he explains to his client what these terms mean and so on. And of course, there's no land in Kingston that is left. I can tell you that as a realtor associate at Coldwell, there's no land in Kingston. So really what you find is that for a developer to put up all these high rises that we see decorating Kingston right now, it's really to totally demolish a home to build up all of these apartment complexes. So he has to ensure, or she as a developer, has to ensure that there are no breaches of restrictive covenants. But as I said before, that can be taken care of through an application that is very standard at the Supreme Court. And if both parties, agree, then it can be discharged.
One of the things also, as you look at putting up whether high-rise or general apartment complexes, is to subdivide the title. The attorney is critically important in cases like these. How do they get that done?
Well, that really is a different aspect where if you have, for example, a plot of land has been left for children and some of them want to use it for a particular purpose, they can actually subdivide that land through an application as well that's done. And it's very, sometimes it takes a while, but the attorney at law is very important in guiding that process as well, to see if it is that you're going to split the title, who is going to buy out who, and the agreements that will have to come about, you know, to have all of that cemented in writing, so that there's no issue as to, oh, I didn't get that piece, I didn't get the proper value, and so on. So it's very important to have
I'm happy you mentioned possible inheriting property and so on. But if we inherit a property, I can just say I am the older one, it belongs to me. Are there any things that I necessarily need an attorney, maybe among my siblings?
Absolutely. You know, it's very sad on that note that you have just pointed out, which is very important. A lot of people have died because of property. So, you know, it's very sad when parents have passed away and siblings just can't get along. They can't agree as to the purpose, you know, what trajectory they want to go in regarding the family home or the property that is left for them. And it really is best to have a splitting. A lot of times the property is left to them and they are noted there as joint tenants. So where you have joint tenancy, the doctrine of jus accrescendi will apply, where it is really the last person who is alive who will get the total property for themselves. Absolutely. But as it is noted on the title as joint tenants, it's not one person owning or the oldest saying it's all mine, because, you know, it really depends on the last person who survives, the right of survivorship.
So in joint tenancy, can't I just sell my portion?
That's the thing, it's really not separate. But you can speak to an attorney about severing the title. So that's an option as well. But as it remains that, you know, the parties are noted as joint tenants, it's not one person alone having full control.
Everybody owning together.
Equally, yes, yes.
And that's very critical for people to know. In terms of, again, ownership of property, is it only more than one person's owning a property? Is it only joint tenancy that they can own, or are there other means that they can own property? Also,
you have the tenants in common. So for instance, new couple just got married, looking to purchase. They can decide that it's going to be a 60-40 or 50-50 or 70-30 based on the contribution that is made towards the purchase price. And I do advise that way because it prevents certain unnecessary conflict that might arise should the union, whether it's a marriage or the relationship, should be dissolved. So it really does create a smoother...
I like the fact that you mentioned this tenancy in common, because especially with the NHT now, to get more funds to ensure that they can purchase a property, we have more people joining. For those, you would advise tenancy in common?
I would. However, you know that the NHT has their own eligibility and so on. You have persons who are, you know, married. However, a spouse might not be able to you know, access that loan, or maybe one person can use their benefits and so on. So as it relates to that, I do believe that tenancy in common is more appropriate.
More appropriate.
Yes.
All right, as we look to wrap, what is the word that you'll have for just general? What would you like to tell investors, home buyers, sellers on both sides of the fence? How important is it for them to ensure that the attorney is fully on board?
Definitely get an attorney if you want to avoid years of litigation in court, because an attorney will take you through the terms and guide you through the legal process in order to own or even sell your property. So avoid years of headache and just get an attorney at law. As a realtor as well, I do offer my clients, when I found a property for them, as a realtor associate at Coldwell, a 50% discount on legal fees as well. So I can just put that little plug in there.
Ah, very important.
Yes.
Big discount. 50% is not small at all. Big discount on legal fees. Talk to Mekelia. Call her up. She'll ensure that she guides you from the realtor side as well as from the attorney side. You can't want it better than that. We told you every single day. Here at Let's Talk Stocks, we give you information to make better financial decisions. Come back with us tomorrow morning at 9. We'll have another exciting program lined up for you.